Look at the shelf after a shortage ends. The boxes are back. The delivery truck is moving. Nothing looks scarce anymore. But the price tag still says $12 when it used to say $10. That feels like a contradiction. If the shortage caused the jump, shouldn't the end of the shortage undo it? The short answer is sometimes. But prices are rising more slowly is not the same statement as prices have returned to where they started. To see why, we need to follow one price tag through the system. Imagine a generic product moving through 4 links: an input supplier, a factory, a truck, and a store. During a shortage, one link becomes unreliable. A component arrives late, a container is stuck, or a worker shortage limits output. The firm pays for workarounds, scarce inventory, emergency shipping, overtime, and extra stock kept as insurance against the next delay. Those are marginal costs, the extra cost of making and delivering one more unit. When that extra cost rises, a seller has a reason to raise the shelf price. The Federal Reserve's pandemic-era analysis describes this chain as a combination of strong demand, reduced capacity, bottlenecks, and distribution costs. Fixing the bottleneck may require capacity to expand at every stage, not just at the factory. So the first move is not mysterious. A temporary physical problem can create a real price increase while the product is hard to get. Here is a deliberately simple example, not a real product's accounts. Before the shock, suppose the item costs $6 to make and deliver, and the shelf price is $10. Now add $2 of temporary bottleneck costs. The seller may move the tag to $12. That $12 includes the old base plus the shock, along with the ordinary margin needed to keep the item on the shelf. The important point is that a price is a level. It records where the tag is now. It does not remember which part of the tag came from the shortage, and it does not contain a rewind button. This is the distinction that headlines often hide. The Consumer Price Index is an index of price levels. The inflation rate is the percentage change in that index over a period. Take an illustrative index that starts at 100. A shock moves it to 108. Later, supply improves and the next change is only about 2%, moving the index to roughly 110. Inflation has fallen from about 8% to about 2% in this toy path, but the level is still 110. The climb became flatter. It did not run downhill. The Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes both the index and its 1 and 12-month percentage changes. Keeping those two objects separate is the fastest way to avoid expecting a lower inflation rate to restore an old price. There is a second mechanism. Price changes can be asymmetric. In a Federal Reserve summary of microprice evidence from Peltzman, a 1% input cost increase produced about a 0.5% output price increase after 8 months. A 1% input cost decrease produced only a little more than a 1/3% output price decrease over the same horizon. Those figures are an empirical comparison across many goods, not a forecast for our imaginary item. But they show why a falling input bill does not guarantee an equally fast falling shelf tag. Inventory, customer search, contracts, and short-run market power can make the benefit of cutting a price smaller than the cost of leaving it high when supply is tight. When the original bottleneck relaxes, several things can be different from the starting point. Wages, rent, financing, insurance, or another input may still be higher. A supplier and a retailer may have signed contracts at the new cost. Managers may have reset their list price and their expectations about future costs. And if customers are not comparing many sellers, the immediate gain from a markdown is small. The Federal Reserve warns about this possibility in its bottlenecks analysis. Even when the physical constraint resolves, inflation can linger if high inflation becomes embedded in wage and price-setting decisions. That is a reason the price can stay high. It is not proof that every firm is acting unfairly, and it is not proof that the original shortage is still there. A real markdown needs a new downward force. Maybe supply overshoots and inventory piles up. Maybe demand weakens and sellers compete for fewer buyers. Maybe a new entrant, a substitute, or lower total costs gives one firm room to undercut the others. Those forces can move the level down. But simply removing one temporary surcharge only removes one source of upward pressure. The rest of the price system can remain at a new equilibrium. This is also why the story is not prices never fall. Some goods do fall quickly. The question is what changed after the shortage? Did costs fall all the way? Did inventories build? And did competition become stronger? So when someone says, inflation is down, why is my bill still high? Ask 3 separate questions. First, did the price level actually move down, or did it merely rise more slowly? Second, did the seller's total cost fall, or only one bottleneck cost? Third, what new force would make a markdown worthwhile? Excess stock, weaker demand, lower costs, or a competitor? The shortage can be over while the price remains high because the first event changed the level and the second event only changed the slope. A lower inflation rate is a calmer climb. It is not, by itself, a trip back down.